I watched my son's hand tighten around the pen he'd placed in front of me. The bank was cold that morning, or maybe it was just me. The teller, a young woman with dark eyes and a name tag that read Sophia, kept looking from the papers to my face, then back to my son. She hadn't said yes yet. She hadn't moved. "Mrs. Brennan," she said quietly, her fingers hovering over the keyboard. "Before we proceed, I need to ask you a few questions." Alone, my son's jaw clenched. My daughter-in-law's smile didn't reach her eyes. And I realized, in that fluorescent-lit silence, that I'd been holding my breath for weeks. What I didn't know yet, what I couldn't know, was that Sophia's refusal would crack open a truth I'd been too afraid or too tired to see. "My name is Margaret Brennan. Most people call me Maggie. I'm 73 years old, and until 6 months ago, I thought I knew my children. Let me start from the beginning. The real beginning. Not the bank. That comes later. The phone call came on a Thursday. I remember because Thursdays I do my grocery run, and I'd just gotten back, arms aching from carrying the bags up the 3 steps to my porch. The house was quiet the way it always is now. Not peaceful, just empty. 47 years Daniel and I lived here. Raised 2 boys in these rooms. He's been gone 2 years, and I still reach for his coffee mug in the morning before I remember. The phone was ringing when I pushed through the door. I almost didn't answer. My hands were full, and telemarketers have gotten aggressive lately. But it kept ringing, insistent, and I thought maybe it was Dr. Patel's office about my blood pressure medication. Mom, my oldest son, Richard, calling in the middle of a workday. "Richie, honey, is everything okay?" There was a pause. Not long, but enough that my stomach tightened. "You raise children, you learn their silences." "Mom, everything's fine. Listen, Angela and I were talking, and we think it's time we had a conversation about your situation." I set the grocery bags on the counter. A can of soup rolled onto the floor. I didn't pick it up. "My situation? You're alone in that house. Dad's gone. We just want to make sure you're taken care of." The way he said "taken care of" made my skin prickle. I was a problem to be managed. I was already in a nursing home bed, staring at a wall. "I'm doing fine, sweetheart. The house is paid off, and I have my—" "That's exactly what we need to talk about. The house. Your accounts. We don't want you worrying about bills or property taxes or any of that. Angela's really good with money, and we thought we could take some of that burden off you." I stood in my kitchen, looking at the yellow curtains I'd sewn 30 years ago, the chip in the countertop where Richie had dropped a cast-iron pan when he was 12, the calendar on the wall still open to March even though it was May. Burden. "I'm not worried about my bills, Richie." "Mom." His voice shifted. Firmer now, the tone he uses with his teenagers. "You're 73. How much longer do you really want to be dealing with bank statements and utility companies? Let us help. That's what family does." I heard a woman's voice in the background. "Angela." I couldn't make out the words, but I knew the cadence. "Hurry up, we have somewhere to be." "I'll think about it," I said. "We'd like to come by this weekend, Saturday afternoon. We'll bring lunch, make a day of it." It wasn't a question. "All right. Great. Love you, Mom." He hung up before I could say it back. I stood there for a long time, phone still in my hand, staring at that rolled can of soup on the floor. Tomato, Daniel's favorite. I used to make him grilled cheese and tomato soup every Sunday night, even after the boys moved out. A ritual, something just for us. I bent down slowly, my knees aren't what they used to be, and picked up the can. The label was dented. And that's when I knew. Not yet, but something in my gut twisted, the way it used to when the boys were teenagers and came home too cheerful, too eager to hug me. That false brightness that meant they'd done something they didn't want me to find out about. I put the groceries away. Milk in the fridge, bread in the bin, canned goods in the pantry, labels facing out the way Daniel always insisted. Order, control, everything in its place. Then I walked to Daniel's old office. We always called it that, even though it was just a converted bedroom with a desk and a filing cabinet, and I opened the drawer where we kept our important papers. Bank statements, mortgage documents, stamped paid in full in red ink, the deed to the house, life insurance papers. Daniel had been meticulous. Everything labeled, everything organized. I pulled out the most recent bank statement. Checking account, 47,293s. Savings account, 128,150s. Daniel's life insurance had been generous. His pension from the electric company still came monthly. Social Security. We'd never been rich, but we'd been careful. We'd been smart. And my sons knew that. I sat at my desk now, I suppose, though I still thought of it as his. And I did something I hadn't done in months. I cried. Not the wild, gasping grief of those first weeks after he died. This was different. Quieter. The kind of crying you do when you're angry and heartbroken and you don't have the words yet. Because here's what I knew, even then. My son didn't call me to help. He called me because he wanted something. Saturday came too fast. I cleaned the house even though it was already clean. Vacuumed the living room, dusted the photos on the mantel, Richie's high school graduation, Michael's wedding, the boys as toddlers in matching overalls. I baked a pie. Apple, because Richie always loved my apple pie. The doorbell rang at 1:30. I opened it to find Richie and Angela on the porch, both dressed too nicely for a casual lunch. Richie in khakis and a button-down. Angela in a cream-colored blouse and slacks, her blonde hair pulled back in a tight bun. She was carrying a leather bag. The expensive kind, the kind I never would have spent money on. "Mom!" Richie stepped in and hugged me. He smelled like cologne, too much of it. "Hi, sweetheart. Angela, you look lovely." Angela smiled. "Thank you, Margaret. It's so good to see you." She'd never called me Mom, not in 15 years of marriage. Always Margaret. Polite distance. They came inside, and I noticed immediately that Richie was carrying a folder. Thick, with papers visible inside. "I made pie," I said. "That's great, Mom. But first, let's sit down and talk. We brought some things we want to show you." We sat in the living room. I took Daniel's chair, my chair. They sat on the couch, side by side, a united front. Richie opened the folder. "So, Angela spent some time researching, and we found a really great option for you. There's a senior living community about 20 minutes from our house. Independent living, but with support staff if you need it. It's beautiful, Mom. They have activities, a dining room, transportation to doctor's appointments. I'm not moving to a nursing home." My voice came out sharper than I intended. "It's not a nursing home," Angela said smoothly. "It's independent living. You'd have your own apartment, but you wouldn't have to worry about yard work or home repairs or—" "I like my yard. I like my home." Richie leaned forward. "Mom, be realistic. This house is too big for you. What if you fall? What if something breaks and you can't fix it? We're just trying to—" "I'm not moving." Silence. Angela's smile tightened. Richie glanced at her, some unspoken communication passing between them. He said, "We'll table that for now, but there's something else. The financial stuff. We really think it would be easier if Angela managed your accounts. Just to simplify things, you wouldn't have to think about it anymore." He pulled out more papers, bank forms. I could see the words, "Power of Attorney" at the top of one. "All you have to do is sign these, and we'll handle everything. Bills, taxes, investments. We'll make sure you're set." I looked at the papers, then at my son. His eyes were earnest, almost pleading, and that's when I heard Daniel's voice in my head, clear as day. "If it sounds too good to be true, Maggie, it probably is. I need to think about it," I said. Angela's smile vanished. "Margaret, this is really for the best. You're not getting any younger and—" I said I need to think about it. Richie stood up. "Mom, we're trying to help you. Why are you making this so difficult?" I stood up too, even though my knees protested. "Because it's my money, Richard. Mine and your father's. We worked for it, and I'm not signing anything today." His face went red. I'd seen that look before, usually right before he'd slam a door as a teenager. "Fine, but we're not dropping this. We'll be back next week." They left without eating the pie. I locked the door behind them and leaned against it, heart pounding. And then I did what I should have done days ago. I called my younger son. Michael? It's Mom. I need to ask you something, and I need you to be honest with me. Of course. What's wrong? Has Richie talked to you about my finances? A pause, longer than Richie's had been. Mom. Michael. He sighed. He mentioned it. A few months ago, he said you were getting forgetful and he was worried you might make bad decisions with money. I told him you seemed fine to me. My throat went tight. Have I seemed forgetful to you? No, you seem like yourself. Mom, what's going on? I told him about the phone call, the visit, the papers. When I finished, Michael was quiet for a long time. Mom, he said finally, his voice low. Don't sign anything. Not yet. Let me make some calls. Calls to who? Just trust me. Don't sign anything. Promise me. I promise. After we hung up, I went back to Daniel's desk and pulled out the bank statements again. This time, I looked closer, and that's when I saw it. 3 months ago, there'd been a withdrawal from our savings, $5,000. The notation said, loan repayment, but Daniel and I had never taken a loan from anyone. I flipped back further. 4 months ago, another $5,000, same notation. 5 months ago, $7,500. My hands started shaking. Someone had been taking money from our account, small amounts, just enough that I might not notice in my grief, in the fog of losing Daniel. But now I noticed. I picked up the phone again. This time I called the bank. The bank's customer service line put me on hold for 12 minutes. I sat at the kitchen table, listening to tinny instrumental music, watching the second hand crawl around the wall clock, the same clock Daniel had hung in 1981. The glass face was cracked, had been for years, but it still kept perfect time. Finally, a voice, young, male, bored. First National Bank, this is Derek. How can I help you today? Yes, hello, my name is Margaret Brennan. I have a savings account with you, and I'm looking at my statements. There are several withdrawals I don't recognize. The sound of typing. Account number. I read it off the statement. More typing. A pause. Mrs. Brennan, I'm showing... Yes, I see the transactions you're referring to. Those were all authorized withdrawals. Authorized by whom? It looks like they were made in person at one of our branch locations, with proper identification. My chest tightened. What identification? I don't have those details here, ma'am. You'd need to come into a branch and speak with a manager, for security purposes. Can you tell me which branch? The one on Oakmont Street. All 3 transactions were processed there. Oakmont Street, 2 blocks from Richie's house. Thank you, I said quietly. I hung up before he could ask if there was anything else. For a long time, I just sat there. The refrigerator hummed. Outside, a car door slammed. Mrs. Chen next door was yelling at her grandson to come inside. A normal Saturday afternoon, except my son had been stealing from me. No, not stealing. That word felt too harsh, too criminal. This was something worse, maybe. Because stealing is what strangers do. This was... I didn't have a word for it yet. I thought about calling Michael back. But what would I say? Your brother took money from my account without asking. It would split them apart. The boys had always been close, even with the 6-year age gap. Michael had looked up to Richie his whole life. And what if I was wrong? What if there was an explanation? But even as I thought it, I knew. Deep down, in the place where mothers keep the truths they don't want to admit, I knew. I needed proof. Sunday morning, I went to church. I hadn't been since Daniel's funeral. People had been kind then, too kind, smothering me with casseroles and sympathy cards and offers to help with anything you need. I'd stopped going because I couldn't stand the pity in their eyes every time they looked at me. But Father Timothy was still there, same as he'd been for 30 years. And after the service, I waited until the crowd thinned and caught him by the door. Margaret, he said, taking my hands. It's good to see you. Father, can I ask you something? Hypothetically? His eyebrows rose, but he nodded. Of course. Let's step into my office. We sat in the small room behind the sanctuary. It smelled like old books and lemon furniture polish. If a family member took money from someone else without asking, but they had access to the account, is that illegal? Father Timothy folded his hands. That's not really a question for a priest, Margaret. That's a question for a lawyer. I know. But I'm asking you as a friend. He studied my face. Are you in trouble? I don't know yet. He was quiet for a moment. Then, if someone has legal access to an account as a joint holder or through power of attorney, then technically withdrawals they make are authorized. But if they're taking money for their own use without the account holder's knowledge or consent, that could be considered financial exploitation, especially if the account holder is elderly or vulnerable. What if the account holder isn't vulnerable? Doesn't matter. It's about intent, about trust. He leaned forward. Margaret, if this is happening to you, you need to document everything. Bank statements, conversations, anything in writing. And you need to talk to someone who can help. A lawyer or Adult Protective Services or... I'm not a victim, I said sharply. I didn't say you were. I stood up. Thank you, Father. Margaret. He stood too. Whatever's happening, you don't have to handle it alone. But that was exactly what I had to do. Monday morning, I dressed carefully. Navy slacks, a white blouse, the pearl earrings Daniel had given me for our 40th anniversary. I wanted to look competent, alert, not like someone who could be taken advantage of. The bank branch on Oakmont Street was small. 3 teller windows, a couple of desks, a waiting area with uncomfortable chairs. I'd been here once before, years ago, to open a Christmas Club account. I walked up to the counter. A young woman with dark eyes and a name tag that read, Sophia, looked up. Good morning. How can I help you? I need to speak with a manager, please, about my account. Of course. Let me get Mr. Patterson for you. She disappeared into a back office. I stood there, purse clutched in both hands, trying to look calm. A man emerged, 50s, balding, kind face. Mrs. Brennan, I'm Tom Patterson. Please come sit down. We sat at his desk. He pulled up my account on his computer. What can I do for you today? I have some questions about recent withdrawals from my savings account. He scrolled through the screen. I see. The 3 transactions over the past 5 months? Yes, I didn't authorize those. His expression shifted. Careful now. Mrs. Brennan, according to our records, those withdrawals were made in person, with proper identification. The person who made them, was it my son? Silence. I can't disclose that information without... It was my son, Richard Brennan, wasn't it? He hesitated. Mrs. Brennan, if you're concerned about unauthorized access to your account, we can help you. But I need to ask, does your son have any legal authority over this account? Power of attorney? Joint ownership? No. Then how? That's what I'm trying to find out. Mr. Patterson typed something, frowned, typed more. Mrs. Brennan, I'm going to need to pull some additional documentation. Can you give me a moment? He stood and went back to the office. I sat there, hands folded in my lap, breathing slowly. He returned 5 minutes later with a file folder. Mrs. Brennan, he said carefully. 6 months ago, someone came into this branch with a power of attorney document signed by you, granting authority over your accounts to Richard Brennan. The room tilted. That's not possible. I never signed anything. The document has your signature. I want to see it. He opened the folder and slid a paper across the desk. There it was. Official looking, legal language. And at the bottom, a signature that looked exactly like mine. But I'd never seen this paper before in my life. My hands were shaking. I pressed them flat against the desk. This is a forgery. Mr. Patterson's face went pale. Mrs. Brennan, that's a serious accusation. It's the truth. I never signed this. I never gave my son permission to access my money. Are you certain? Sometimes people forget. I'm 73, Mr. Patterson, not senile. I did not sign this document. He stared at me, then at the paper, then back at me. If what you're saying is true, we need to freeze your accounts immediately and file a report. This would be fraud, forgery. We'd need to involve the police. The police. My son, my eldest boy, who I'd rocked to sleep and taught to ride a bike and watched walk across the stage at graduation. What do I need to do? I asked. First, we secure your accounts, new account numbers, new access codes. Then we document everything. And then, he paused. Then you need to talk to a lawyer, Mrs. Brennan, because this isn't just about the money. I knew that. This was about my son looking me in the eye and calling it love while he robbed me blind. I left the bank with new temporary checks, a new debit card being mailed, and a sick feeling in my stomach that wouldn't go away. Mr. Patterson had been kind, professional. He'd made copies of everything, flagged the account, started the internal investigation. But he'd also asked me very gently, "Do you want to press charges?" I'd told him I needed time to think. On the drive home, my phone rang. Richie. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. "Hi, sweetheart." "Mom, hey, listen, Angela and I talked, and we think we were too pushy on Saturday. We want to apologize. How about we take you to dinner this week? Make it up to you?" His voice was warm, cheerful, loving, like nothing was wrong. He hadn't forged my signature and stolen $17,500. "That sounds nice," I heard myself say. "Great. Wednesday work? We'll pick you up at 6. "Perfect. Love you, Mom." "Love you too, honey." I hung up, and then I called Michael. "I need that lawyer," I said. "Now." Michael's lawyer was a woman named Patricia Holbrook. She worked out of a small office above a coffee shop in downtown, the kind of place with exposed brick walls and filing cabinets that looked like they'd survived 3 decades. But her handshake was firm, and her eyes were sharp, and when she looked at the forged power of attorney document, her mouth formed a thin line. "This is textbook elder financial abuse," she said. I flinched at the word. Elder. It made me sound ancient, helpless. "I'm not." "I know." She held up a hand. "You're sharp as a tack, Mrs. Brennan. That's not the point. The law defines elder abuse as exploitation of anyone over 65. Doesn't matter if you can run a marathon and do the Sunday crossword in pen. You're in the protected class." We were sitting in her office on Tuesday morning. Michael had called her Monday night, explained the situation, and she'd agreed to see me first thing. He'd offered to come with me, but I'd told him no. This was something I needed to do alone. "Walk me through everything," Patricia said, pen poised over a legal pad. So I did. The phone call from Richie, the Saturday visit, the papers they'd wanted me to sign, the withdrawals I'd discovered, the forged document at the bank. She took notes, occasionally asking questions. When I finished, she sat back. "How much total did he take?" $17,500. Over 5 months. Small enough amounts that you wouldn't notice right away, especially if you were grieving. Smart. She said it clinically, like she was analyzing a chess move. "And the timing. 6 months ago. When did your husband pass?" 2 years ago. "But the forgery is dated 6 months ago." What happened 6 months ago? I thought back. January. Winter. What had I been doing? Then I remembered. I had surgery, hip replacement. I was in the hospital for 4 days, then rehab for 2 weeks. Patricia's eyes narrowed. "Were you on pain medication?" "Yes, oxycodone. It made me foggy." "And did your son visit you during that time?" "Every day. He was wonderful. He brought me magazines, helped me with paperwork from the hospital." My voice trailed off. Paperwork. "Oh, God," I whispered. Patricia nodded slowly. "He probably had you sign multiple documents, slipped this in with the legitimate ones. You were medicated, recovering from surgery, trusting your own son. You wouldn't have read every word." I felt sick. "So what Do I do? Several options. Criminal charges, forgery, theft, financial exploitation. That's a felony in this state. Or civil action, sue for the money back, emotional damages, or... She paused. You could confront him privately, demand repayment, and handle it within the family. What would you recommend? Depends on what you want. Justice, the money, to protect other potential victims? Or do you want to keep your family intact? I looked down at my hands. The wedding ring I still wore. The age spots I'd noticed appearing over the past few years. Can I have all three? Probably not. We sat in silence. There's something else, Patricia said. If your son forged one document, he may have forged others. We need to check everything. Your will, insurance policies, property deeds, everything with your signature on it. My will. I hadn't even thought of that. And Mrs. Brennan, till this is resolved, don't sign anything. Don't go anywhere alone with him. Don't eat or drink. Anything he gives you. I think people who commit financial fraud sometimes escalate when they're afraid of being caught. I'm not saying he would hurt you, but I am saying, be careful. I went home and tore apart Daniel's office. Every file, every folder, every document. I spread them across the floor, checking signatures, dates, anything that looked wrong. Most of it was fine, normal. The mortgage papers, old tax returns, Daniel's death certificate. But then I found it. My will, updated 8 months ago, according to the date. Except I'd never updated my will. Daniel and I had made simple wills 20 years ago. Everything split evenly between our two sons, straightforward. This new will was different. It left everything, the house, all remaining funds, personal property, solely to Richard Brennan. Michael got nothing. And there was my signature at the bottom, witnessed and notarized. I sat on the floor of Daniel's office, surrounded by papers, and I couldn't breathe. He hadn't just stolen money, he'd tried to steal everything and cut his own brother out entirely. The phone rang. I didn't move. It kept ringing. Finally, I picked up. Mom, it's Richie. Just confirming for tomorrow night. 6 o'clock? His voice was light, happy, innocent. Yes, I said. My voice sounded far away, like it belonged to someone else. 6 o'clock. Perfect. Wear something nice. We're taking you somewhere special. After he hung up, I called Patricia. I found a forged will, I said. Bring it to me Thursday morning. Don't tell anyone you found it. He wants to take me to dinner tomorrow. Then go. Act normal. And Mrs. Brennan? Yes? Record the conversation if you can. Your phone has a voice memo app. Use it. Wednesday evening, I dressed carefully. A blue dress Daniel had always liked. Pearl earrings, lipstick. I looked at myself in the mirror and practiced smiling. The woman looking back at me seemed tired. Older than 73, but her eyes were clear. At exactly 6 o'clock, Richie's SUV pulled into my driveway. I grabbed my purse, phone already recording in the inside pocket, and walked out. Angela was in the front seat. She turned and waved, all white teeth and perfect hair. Margaret, you look lovely. Thank you, dear. I climbed into the back seat. Richie pulled out of the driveway. Where are we going? I asked. Antonelli's, that Italian place you and Dad used to love. My throat tightened. We'd celebrated our anniversary, there for 30 years. That's thoughtful. The restaurant was 40 minutes away. Richie talked the whole drive, work, the kids, the new deck they were building. Angela chimed in occasionally. I made appropriate noises, smiled at the right moments. Inside, they'd made a reservation. Prime table by the window. We ordered. Chicken marsala for me, the same thing I always got. Wine appeared. I barely touched it. So, Mom, Richie said after the salads arrived, Angela and I have been thinking about what we discussed last week. Here it comes. We know you need time to think about everything, but we wanted to show you something. Angela pulled out her phone, started swiping through photos. This is the apartment we were telling you about. Look how spacious it is. And this is the common area. They have book clubs, movie nights. I looked at the photos. Beige walls, industrial carpet, strangers' faces smiling at the camera. "It's very nice," I said. "And the best part," Richie continued, "is that we could use the money from selling your house to pay for it. The equity would cover probably 10 years of rent, easy. You wouldn't have to worry about anything." There it was. The house. The final piece. "Have you thought any more about the financial arrangements?" Angela asked. "Because really, Margaret, the sooner we get that set up, the sooner we can start making things easier for you." I cut a piece of chicken, chewed slowly. "Actually," I said, "I've been thinking about that. And I have some questions." Richie's smile didn't waver, but something flickered in his eyes. "Of course. What questions?" "Well, I was looking at my bank statements, and I noticed some withdrawals I don't remember making." Silence, just for a second. Then Richie laughed. "Mom, that's exactly why we're worried. You're forgetting things. That's totally normal at your age, but—" "Do you remember the amounts, honey?" I asked pleasantly. "Because I can't seem to recall." He shifted in his seat. "Mom, I don't—" $5,000 in January, $5,000 in February, $7,500 in March. Angela's fork stopped halfway to her mouth. "Mom, those were loans, remember? We asked if we could borrow money for the kids' tuition, and you said yes." "Did I? That's strange. I don't remember that conversation." "Because you were on pain medication." His voice was getting louder. People at the next table glanced over. "After your surgery, we talked about it." "At the hospital." "The hospital." I took a sip of water. "Tell me, Richie, when I was in the hospital, did I sign any other papers? Besides the loan agreement I apparently don't remember?" His face went red. "What are you implying?" "I'm not implying anything. I'm asking." Angela put her hand on his arm. "Richard, maybe we should—" "No." He leaned forward. "Mom, I have done everything for you. Everything. Who called you every week after Dad died? Who helped you with the funeral arrangements? Who made sure you got to your doctor's appointments? Me, not Michael, me." "I know, sweetheart, and I'm grateful. Then why are you questioning me like I'm some kind of criminal?" "I'm not. I'm just trying to understand. You're confused. You're forgetful. That's why you need help. That's why we're trying to—" "I'm not confused, Richard." My voice came out quiet but firm. The way I used to talk when he was a teenager trying to lie his way out of trouble. He stopped mid-sentence. We stared at each other across the table, and in that moment I saw it. The flicker of fear, the calculation, the realization that I knew. "I think," I said softly, "that we should probably go home now." The drive back was silent. When we pulled into my driveway, I got out quickly. "Thank you for dinner." "Mom, wait!" But I was already walking to the door, keys in hand. Inside, I locked the deadbolt and leaned against the wall, heart pounding. My phone was still recording. I stopped it and listened to the playback, every word, crystal clear. Then I called Patricia. "I need to file charges," I said. "All of them." Thursday morning, I sat in Patricia's office with the forged will, the bank documents, and the audio recording from dinner. She listened to the entire thing, making notes. When it finished, she looked up at me. "This is good. Not a confession, but it shows consciousness of guilt. The defensiveness, the gaslighting about your memory. A jury would see right through it." "A jury?" I repeated. The word felt heavy. "Mrs. Brennan, you need to understand what you're starting here. If we file criminal charges, there's no taking it back. Your son will be arrested. It will be public. It will destroy your family." "He destroyed it first." She nodded slowly. "All right. Then here's what happens next. I file a police report today. They'll investigate, interview witnesses, subpoena bank records, bring in a handwriting expert to analyze the forgeries. Could take weeks, maybe months. In the meantime, we file for an emergency restraining order to keep Richard away from you and your assets." "Will he go to jail?" "Eventually, if convicted. Forgery is a Class C felony. Financial exploitation of the elderly can add years. He's looking at potentially 5 to 10 years in prison." 5 to 10 years. I thought about Richie at 8 years old, crying because he'd struck out in Little League. Richie at 16, nervous in his prom tuxedo. Richie at 25, holding his firstborn daughter, tears streaming down his face. And then I thought about him sitting across from me at dinner, lying to my face, calling me confused. "Do it," I said. Patricia picked up her phone. The police came to my house Friday afternoon. 2 detectives, a woman named Martinez and a man named Chen. They were professional, patient. They took my statement, examined the documents, asked detailed questions about dates and times and conversations. "Mrs. Brennan," Detective Martinez said, "I want to be honest with you. These cases are hard to prosecute. Defense attorneys will argue that you're elderly, that your memory isn't reliable, that you consented to everything and simply forgot. Are you prepared for that? My memory is fine. I believe you. But you need to be ready for them to attack it. They'll bring up your age, your surgery, your grief over your husband. They'll make you look confused and vulnerable. Let them try." She smiled slightly. "Then, we'll be in touch." After they left, I sat in the quiet house and waited. The call came 2 hours later. Michael. "Mom, what the hell is going on? Richie just called me. He said police came to his office and arrested him." My stomach dropped. "They arrested him already? He's at the station right now. They're charging him with forgery and elder abuse. Mom, what did you do?" "What did I do? Michael, he stole from me. He forged legal documents. He's my brother. And I'm your mother." Silence on the line. "He said you're confused," Michael said quietly. "That you're having memory problems, and you're accusing him of things that didn't happen. Do I sound confused to you?" "No, but what? You think I'd make this up? You think I'd have my own son arrested for fun? I don't know what to think. This is insane. Look at the evidence, Michael. Ask him to explain the forged signatures. Ask him about the money he took. Ask him why there's a fake will that cuts you out entirely." Another silence. Longer this. Time. "What will?" I told him. "Everything. The whole ugly truth." When I finished, he was quiet for so long I thought he'd hung up. "Michael, I'm here." His voice sounded strangled. He was going to take everything? Cut me out? "Yes." "Jesus Christ." A pause. "Mom, I'm so sorry. I should have, when he first mentioned you being forgetful, I should have paid more attention. I should have protected you. This isn't your fault, honey. Where are you right now? Are you alone?" "I'm home. I'm fine. I'm coming over. Don't argue. I'm leaving work right now." He hung up before I could respond. Michael arrived an hour later with Chinese takeout and a bottle of wine. "You haven't eaten, have you?" he said, unpacking containers on the kitchen table. "Not really." We ate in silence for a while. Lo mein and sweet and sour chicken from the place on 5th Street, the same place Daniel and I used to order from on Friday nights. "Angela called me," Michael said finally. "She's furious. Said you're tearing the family apart." "I'm tearing it apart?" Her words, not mine. He stabbed at his noodles. "She said Richie was just trying to help you, that you misunderstood his intentions." "Did she explain the forged signatures?" "She said maybe the notary made a mistake, or maybe you signed things and forgot." I set down my fork. "Do you believe that?" Michael really looked at me. "No, I don't." Relief washed over me. "But Mom, you need to prepare yourself. It's going to get ugly. Angela's already calling relatives, telling her version of the story. By tomorrow, half the family will think you're a vindictive old woman who's punishing Richie for trying to help. Let them think what they want. They'll take sides. Holidays will never be the same. The kids," his voice cracked, "my nieces are going to hate you." That hurt more than I expected. Richie's 3 daughters. I'd babysat them, baked them birthday cakes, taught the oldest one to knit. Then, "I'll have to live with that," I said quietly. Michael reached across the table and took my hand. "I'm with you, whatever happens. But Mom, are you sure? Are you absolutely sure you want to do this? I thought about the question. Really thought about it. Was I sure? I was 73 years old. I'd spent my life being nice, being accommodating, putting everyone else first. When the boys were little and money was tight, I'd worn the same winter coat for 15 years so they could have new sneakers. When Daniel's mother got sick, I'd taken care of her for 3 years, changing bedpans and cooking special meals, never complaining. I'd been a good wife, a good mother, a good daughter-in-law, and my reward was my own son forging my signature and stealing my money and planning to take everything I had left. Yes, I said. I'm sure. The next week was a blur. Richie was released on bail. Patricia filed the restraining order. He was prohibited from coming within 500 feet of me or contacting me directly. That didn't stop Angela from calling, or texting, or showing up at my house. I didn't answer the door. I watched through the front window as she pounded on it, shouting, "Margaret, this is ridiculous. He's your son, your own flesh and blood. How can you do this to him?" Mrs. Chen came out of her house next door. "Is there a problem here?" Angela spun around. "This doesn't concern you. You're screaming on my neighbor's porch. That concerns me. Should I call the police?" Angela glared at her, then at my window. I don't know if she could see me standing there, but she must have known I was watching. She got in her car and left. Mrs. Chen waved at my window. I waved back. Later that afternoon, my phone rang. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. "Mom?" Richie's voice, quiet, different from the angry defensiveness at dinner. "You're not supposed to call me," I said. "I know. I'm using a friend's phone. I need to talk to you." "Then talk." A long pause. I heard him breathing. "Why are you doing this?" he asked. Not angry, almost pleading. "I was trying to help you. That's all I've ever tried to do. By stealing from me?" "It wasn't stealing. That money was going to be mine eventually anyway. We needed it now. The girls' tuition is killing us, the mortgage, everything. And you have more than you need just sitting there. So you decided to take it without asking? I knew you'd say no. You and Dad were always so tight with money. Never wanted to spend anything, never wanted to help. We put you through college, Richard. We helped with your wedding. We gave you the down payment for your first house. That was years ago. What have you done for us lately?" The entitlement in his voice took my breath away. "I don't owe you my life savings," I said. "I'm your son. And I'm your mother, not your bank account." Silence. Then, "If you don't drop the charges, I'll never speak to you again. The girls will never speak to you. You'll lose your whole family." My hand tightened on the phone. "If that's the price of keeping my dignity," I said quietly, "then I'll pay it." I hung up, and then I cried, not the quiet tears from before. This was deep, wrenching sobs that came from somewhere primal, the sound of a mother's heart breaking. Because he was right about one thing. I was losing my family. But what he didn't understand, what Angela didn't understand, was that they'd lost me first. The time, moment. Richie forged my signature. The moment he looked at me and saw a resource instead of a person, I'd already lost him. I was just making it official. That night I couldn't sleep. I wandered through the house, touching things. The photos on the mantel, the chip in the counter, the yellow curtains. 47 years of memories in these rooms. I ended up in Daniel's office, sitting at his desk. "I don't know what to do," I said out loud, like he could hear me. "I don't know if I'm doing the right thing." The house was silent. But then I remembered something Daniel used to say. "The right thing is usually the hard thing, Maggie. That's how you know it's right." I pulled out a piece of paper and started writing. A list. Everything I needed to do. Everything I needed to protect. And at the top, in capital letters, "Trust yourself," because that's what this was really about. Not the money, not even the forgery. It was about whether I was going to let someone, even my own son, make me doubt my own mind, my own reality, my own worth, And I'd already decided I wasn't. The preliminary hearing was set for 3 weeks out. Patricia explained what would happen. The prosecutor would present evidence, the judge would decide if there was enough to go to trial. It's not the full trial, she said, but it's important. It sets the tone. In the meantime, life went on. Sort of. I still did my Thursday grocery shopping, still went to church, though people whispered now when I walked past, still tended the tomato plants in my backyard garden, the ones Daniel had planted the year before he died. But everything felt different, smaller, like the world had shrunk to just me and this house and the legal documents that kept arriving in the mail. Michael called every day, sometimes just to check in, sometimes to warn me about what Angela was posting on Facebook. I didn't have Facebook, never saw the point, but apparently she'd written a long post about elder abuse going the other direction, about ungrateful parents who turned on their children. Don't read the comments, Michael said. Trust me. I didn't, but I knew what people were saying. Mrs. Patterson from church stopped me after Mass. Margaret, dear, I heard about the trouble with Richard. I'm sure it's just a misunderstanding. He's always been such a good boy. It's not a misunderstanding, I said. She patted my hand. Well, you know, at our age, sometimes we get confused about things. My sister thought her daughter was stealing from her, but it turned out she'd just forgotten giving her permission. Maybe if you talked to Richard. Excuse me, I said, and walked away. I was so tired of being patted and placated and treated like a confused old woman who couldn't trust her own mind. 10 days before the hearing, Patricia called. We have a problem, she said. The handwriting expert examined the power of attorney and the will. She says she can't definitively prove they're forgeries. My stomach sank. What do you mean? The signatures are very close to your actual signature. Whoever forged them was good. The expert says it's possible they're forgeries, but she can't testify to it with certainty. A good defense attorney will tear that apart. So what do? We focus on the other evidence. The timing, the documents appearing right after your surgery when you were medicated, the withdrawals you didn't authorize, your testimony that you never signed them. But Margaret, I won't lie to you. Without definitive proof of forgery, this case gets a lot harder. After we hung up, I sat staring at the wall. Then I did something I should have done weeks ago. I called the notary. The documents had been notarized by someone named Robert Chen, with an address in the next town over. I found his number online. Hello, Chen Notary Services. Mr. Chen, my name is Margaret Brennan. You notarized some documents for me about 8 months ago, and I have some questions. Let me pull up my, records. What's the date? I gave it to him. Yes, power of attorney and will. I remember that one. My heart started pounding. You remember it? Sure. Young guy brought his mother in. She'd just had surgery, was using a walker. Sweet lady, very quiet. Mr. Chen, I am that woman. And I was never in your office. Silence. I'm sorry, what? I never came to your office. I never signed those documents in front of you. Someone else did. Ma'am, that's not possible. I saw her ID. I watched her sign. What did the ID say? Let me check my notes. Margaret Ann Brennan, birth date March 15th, 1952. Driver's license. My birth date. My name, but not me. Mr. Chen, what did this woman look like? It was months ago. Older woman, gray hair, maybe 5'4". I'm 5'7", and I've never dyed my hair. It's white, not gray. Another pause. Are you saying someone impersonated you? Yes? Oh my God. His voice had changed, gone tight with panic. Oh my God, I could lose my license. I need to see you. Can you come to my office? Today? I drove to Chen Notary Services with Patricia. Robert Chen was a nervous man in his 60s, and he looked like he might be sick when we walked in. Mrs. Brennan, I am so sorry. I had no idea. I check IDs, I follow protocol, I never— Mr. Chen, Patricia interrupted. Can you describe the woman who came in with Richard Brennan? Older, shorter than Mrs. Brennan here, gray hair, pulled back, glasses, she seemed fragile. Used a walker. And you're certain you checked her ID? Yes. I always check. The license looked legitimate. Had her photo, her name, everything. May I see your records? He pulled out a file. There was a photocopy of the driver's license. I stared at it. The photo showed a woman who looked vaguely like me. Similar features, similar age. But it wasn't me. The hair was wrong. The eyes were wrong. Who is this? I whispered. Patricia was already on her phone, taking pictures. This is identity fraud. Multiple felonies. Mr. Chen, I'm going to need you to make a statement to the police. Of course. Anything. I can't believe... Who would do this? I looked at the date on the document again. 8 months ago. I'd been in rehabilitation then, barely able to walk. Richie had visited every single day, and on one of those days he'd brought someone to pretend to be me. The police came back to my house that evening. Detective Martinez looked at the fake ID, at Chen's statement, at the timeline. Do you have any idea who this woman might be? She asked. I shook my head. I've never seen her before. We'll run facial recognition, see if we get a match. But Mrs. Brennan, this changes everything. This isn't just forgery anymore. This is conspiracy, identity fraud, notary fraud. Your son didn't do this alone. Will it be enough to convict him? If we can identify and locate this woman, and if she's willing to testify against him, yes, absolutely. She left, with copies of everything. I sat in the living room with Michael, who'd come over as soon as I'd called him. He hired someone, Michael said, still staring at the fake ID photo. He actually hired someone to impersonate you. Or convinced someone. Who would do that? That's when it hit me. Michael, do you remember Angela's mother? He frowned. Judith? Yeah, why? Didn't she pass away about 5 years ago? Yeah, Alzheimer's. She was in a nursing home for the last 2 years. Before that, where did she live? With Richard and Angela. They took care of her for a while before she got too bad. His eyes widened. Wait, you think... I think they had experience with elder care, with confused older women, with faking documents. I pulled up the photo on Patricia's phone again. Look at her. Really look. Michael stared. Then his face went pale. She looks like Angela's mother. A little. Same build, same coloring. What if they knew someone from that time? Another family member. A nursing home worker. Someone who looked enough like me? That's insane. Is it? Think about it. They needed someone to impersonate me. Someone older. Someone who could pull it off. And they'd spent years dealing with Judith's care. They'd have connections. Michael pulled out his phone, started scrolling. Angela has a sister, Linda. She's older than Angela, lives in Ohio. They're not close. He turned the phone to show me a Facebook photo. The woman in the picture was probably 60, gray, hair, glasses, and she looked enough like the woman in the fake ID to be her sister. Detective Martinez called back 2 hours later. We got a hit on facial recognition. Woman's name is Linda Voss, Angela Brennan's sister, lives in Dayton, Ohio. And Mrs. Brennan? She has a record. Fraud charges from 2018, served 18 months probation. So she's done this before. Looks like it. We've contacted Ohio police to bring her in for questioning. If she talks, and people with priors usually do, when they're facing new charges, she'll give up Richard and Angela both. After the call ended, I sat very still. Angela. I'd suspected Richie. I'd been angry at him, heartbroken over him. But Angela, sweet, perfect Angela with her expensive handbags and her PTA volunteer work and her fake smiles. She'd been behind this all along. That night I couldn't sleep again. I kept thinking about all the times Angela had been in this house, all the times she'd offered to help with paperwork, all the times she'd suggested I was getting forgetful. She'd been planning this for months, maybe years, and I'd let her into my home, trusted her with my grandson's care, baked her birthday cakes. Around 3 a.m, I got up and made tea, sat at the kitchen table in the dark, and that's when I heard it. A car door closing softly outside. I froze, footsteps on the driveway. Slow, deliberate, The restraining order meant Richie couldn't come here. But Angela wasn't on it. I stayed very still, barely breathing. A shadow passed by the kitchen window, then a knock at the back door. Quiet, almost polite. "Margaret." Angela's voice muffled through the door. "I know you're awake. I saw the light. Please, I just want to talk." I didn't move. "Margaret, you're making a terrible mistake. This doesn't have to go to court. We can work this out, just the family. I have a proposal." Still, I said nothing. "Fine." Her voice turned cold. "But you should know. Richard wasn't the only one who signed things you don't remember. You might want to check your insurance policies. Your beneficiaries might surprise you." My blood went cold. "And Margaret, accidents happen, especially to elderly people living alone. Falls downstairs, gas leaks. It would be such a shame if something happened to you before the trial." She waited. Then I heard her footsteps retreat. The car door, the engine. I sat in the dark, shaking. Then I called 911. "I need to report a violation of a restraining order and a threat against my life," I said. My voice didn't shake at all. The police arrived in 8 minutes. I met them at the door. 2 officers, one older, one barely looked old enough to shave. I told them about Angela's visit, her threats, everything she'd said. "Did you record it?" the younger one asked. "No, I didn't think—" "It's okay, ma'am. We'll document everything. Is there somewhere else you can stay tonight? Family? Friends?" "I'll take her," Michael said, appearing in the doorway behind me. I hadn't even heard him arrive. I was already on my way over. She texted me. I had looked at my phone. I must have, in the blur of fear and adrenaline. The message just said, Angela was here. The officers took my statement, checked the perimeter of the house, gave me a case number. "We'll have a patrol car drive by every hour tonight," the older officer said, "and we'll forward this to Detective Martinez. She'll want to add terroristic threats to the charges." After they left, Michael started packing me an overnight bag. "You're staying with us," he said. "No arguments. Michael, I can't just leave my house." "Mom." He stopped, holding one of my sweaters. "She threatened you. She implied she might hurt you. You can't stay here alone. I've lived in this house for 47 years. I'm not letting her scare me out of it. Then I'm staying here." We stared at each other. "Fine," I said finally. One night, he slept on the couch with a baseball bat next to him. I barely slept at all, listening to every creak and settling sound the house made. Around dawn, Patricia called. "I heard about last night. Are you okay?" "I'm fine." "Good. Because I have news. Linda Voss is cooperating. She's giving a full statement in exchange for immunity. And Margaret? She's giving us everything. Dates, amounts, whose idea it was. All of it. Whose idea was it? Angela's, start to finish. She's the one who recruited her sister. She's the one who planned the timing around your surgery. Richard went along with it, but this was Angela's operation. I should have felt vindicated. Instead, I just felt tired. What happens now? The prosecutor is adding Angela to the charges: conspiracy to commit fraud, identity theft, elder abuse, and as of last night, criminal threatening. The hearing is in 5 days. I need you ready to testify. The next 3 days were a blur of preparation. Patricia drilled me on questions the defense would ask, made me practice staying calm, speaking clearly, not getting emotional. "They're going to try to rattle you," she said. "They'll suggest you're confused, that you consented to everything, that you're doing this out of spite. You need to stay steady." "I can do that." "I know you can." Michael moved in temporarily. He took time off work, slept in the guest room, drove me to appointments. His wife, Sarah, brought groceries and casseroles and warm hugs. "I'm so sorry this is happening," she said, "but I'm proud of you for standing up for yourself." On the 3rd day, my phone rang, unknown number again. I almost didn't answer, but something made me. "Grandma?" My heart stopped. Emma, Richie's oldest daughter, 15 years old, and I hadn't heard her voice in weeks. "Emma, sweetheart, is it true?" Her voice was shaking. What they're saying about Dad and Mom. Did they really steal from you? I closed my eyes. Yes, honey. I'm sorry, but yes. Mom says you're lying. She says you're trying to destroy our family. Because you're mad Dad tried to help you. That's not what happened. Then tell me what did, because I don't know what to believe anymore. She was crying now. Dad won't talk about it. Mom just keeps saying you're sick and confused, but Uncle Mike's, he says there's proof, evidence. There is, sweetheart. Why would they do that? We're family. I don't know, Emma. I wish I did. Silence, except for her ragged breathing. I miss you, she whispered. I miss coming over on Saturdays. I miss your apple pie. I miss how the house always smells like your lavender soap. My throat closed up. I miss you too, baby. Can I come see you? After all this is over? Anytime you want. My door is always open for you. Even if I still love Dad? Especially then. He's your father. You should love him. She was quiet for a moment. Grandma, I believe you. I don't think you're lying. After we hung up, I sat holding the phone, tears streaming down my face. Michael found me like that. Didn't say anything. Just put his arms around me and let me cry. The morning of the hearing, I woke up at 5. Couldn't eat breakfast. Could barely drink coffee. I dressed carefully. A navy suit I'd bought for Daniel's funeral and hadn't worn since. Pearl earrings, lipstick. Patricia had said to look dignified. Competent, not like a victim. Michael drove me to the courthouse. Sarah came too, for moral support. You've got this, Mom, Michael said as we walked up the steps. Inside, the hallway, was crowded. I saw Detective Martinez conferring with the prosecutor, a sharp-looking woman in her 40s. And then I saw them. Richie and Angela, sitting on a bench with their lawyer. A man in an expensive suit, gray hair, predatory eyes. Richie looked terrible, thinner, dark circles under his eyes. He glanced up as we walked past, and for a second our eyes met. I thought I saw something there. Shame, maybe, regret. But then Angela touched his arm and whispered something, and his face hardened. He looked away. All rise. The Honorable Judge Patricia Winters, presiding. We filed into the courtroom. I sat behind the prosecutor's table, hands folded in my lap. Judge Winters was a black woman in her 60s, with intelligent eyes and a no-nonsense demeanor. The prosecutor stood. Your Honor, the state is prepared to present evidence in the matter of state versus Richard Brennan and Angela Brennan. Proceed. What followed was clinical, methodical. The prosecutor presented the key, forged documents, the bank records showing unauthorized withdrawals, Robert Chen's testimony about notarizing documents for a woman who wasn't me, the fake ID with Linda Voss's photo. Linda herself appeared via video link from Ohio, nervous and pale, confirming that Angela had paid her $2,000 to impersonate me. She said it was harmless, Linda testified, that her mother-in-law was sick and needed help managing her affairs, but was too proud to ask. She said the documents were just to make it easier to help her. And you believe that? The prosecutor asked. I wanted to. Angela paid for my daughter's dental work. I owed her. Then it was my turn. I walked to the witness stand, placed my hand on the Bible, swore to tell the truth. The prosecutor asked me to state my name for the record. Margaret Ann Brennan. Mrs. Brennan, do you recognize these documents? She showed me the power of attorney, the will. I recognize my name on them, but those aren't my signatures. Did you ever authorize your son, Richard Brennan, to access your bank accounts? No. Did you ever give him permission to withdraw money? No. Did you sign these documents? No further questions, Your Honor. Richie's lawyer stood. He was smiling, friendly, like we were having a pleasant chat. Mrs. Brennan, you're 73 years old, is that correct? Yes. And you had hip replacement surgery 8 months ago? Yes. Were you prescribed pain medication? Yes. Strong. Pain medication? Opioids? I saw where this was going. Yes. And those medications can affect memory, can't they? They can. So isn't it possible that you did sign these documents while you were under the influence of pain medication and you simply don't remember? I looked him in the eye. No. How can you be so certain? Because I know my own mind. And I know I would never sign away my rights to anyone, medicated or not. But you were grieving your husband, vulnerable, in pain. Isn't it possible? I was grieving. I was in pain. But I wasn't stupid, and I wasn't incompetent. My son forged my signature. He stole from me. No amount of medication changes that fact. The lawyer's smile faltered. No further questions. The prosecutor called Detective Martinez, who testified about the investigation, the handwriting analysis, the pattern of financial exploitation. Then the judge spoke. Does the defense wish to present any evidence? Richie's lawyer stood. Your Honor, the defense maintains that this is a misunderstanding between a mother and son. We believe Mrs. Brennan is confused about events that took place while she was medicated and grieving. However, given the testimony presented today, we would like to request a continuance to— Denied, Judge Winters said crisply. I've heard enough. Based on the evidence presented, I find probable cause to believe that the defendants Richard Brennan and Angela Brennan committed the crimes of forgery, identity fraud, financial exploitation of an elderly person, and conspiracy to commit fraud. This case will proceed to trial. Bail is set at $50,000 each. The defendants are to have no contact with the victim. Next court date will be— She continued, but I stopped hearing. It was real. It was happening. My son was going to trial. Outside the courthouse, reporters were waiting. Cameras, microphones, questions shouted from every direction. Mrs. Brennan, how does it feel to press charges against your own son? Do you regret your decision? Have you spoken to your grandchildren? Michael and Sarah flanked me, pushing through the crowd. Patricia appeared at my elbow. No comment. Mrs. Brennan has no comment at this time. We made it to Michael's car, drove away while the cameras still flashed. I looked back once, saw Richie and Angela being led to a police car, hands cuffed behind their backs. Richie's head was down. Angela was crying, and I felt nothing. No triumph, no satisfaction, just a deep, bone-tired sadness. You okay, Mom? Michael asked. I thought about it. I will be, I said. And I believed it. The trial was set for 6 weeks out, but 3 weeks before the court date, something happened that changed everything. I got a call from the prosecutor. Mrs. Brennan, Richard and Angela's attorney has approached us about a plea deal. What kind of deal? They'll plead guilty to all charges in exchange for a reduced sentence. Richard would serve 18 months. Angela, 24. They'd be required to pay full restitution, every penny they took, plus interest, and they'd both be prohibited from any contact with you for 5 years. What if I say no? What if I want the trial? Then we go to trial. But I'll be honest with you, trials are unpredictable. A sympathetic jury might feel sorry for them, might think you're being vindictive. This deal guarantees consequences, guarantees you get your money back. Can I think about it? You have 48 hours. I talked to Michael, to Patricia, to Sarah. Everyone had opinions. Make them face a jury, Michael said, angry. Make them pay for what they did. Take the deal, Patricia advised. Guaranteed outcome, no risk. Sarah just held my hand. What do you want, Margaret? I thought about it for a long time. What did I want? I wanted my son back. The real one, from before greed and entitlement twisted him into someone I didn't recognize. But that wasn't possible. So instead, I wanted closure. Justice. The ability to move forward. I'll take the deal, I told the prosecutor. The sentencing hearing was brief. Richie and Angela stood before Judge Winters in prison jumpsuits. They'd been denied bail after Angela's threatening visit to my house. The judge asked if they had anything to say. Angela spoke first. Her voice was flat, rehearsed. I'm sorry for any harm we caused. We were under financial stress and made poor decisions. We accept responsibility. Not once did she look at me. Then, Richie. He turned toward where I sat in the gallery. His eyes were red. Mom, His voice broke. I'm sorry. I don't know what else to say. I'm so sorry. Was he sorry for what he'd done? Or sorry he got caught? I didn't know. Maybe I'd never know. Judge Winters sentenced them, according to the plea agreement, 18 months for Richie, 24 for Angela, full restitution. Let this be clear, the judge said. Elder financial abuse is not a family matter. It is a crime. And this, court takes it seriously. The bailiff led them away. I watched my son shuffle out in chains, and then I left the courthouse and went home. But before all of that, before the plea deal, before the sentencing, there was the moment that had started it all. The real beginning. It was 2 days after Angela's nighttime threat, 2 days after I'd filed the police report. Michael had insisted on coming with me to the bank. I needed to change my accounts again, add extra security measures, make absolutely certain no one could access my money. We walked into the branch on Oakmont Street, the same one where Richie had made those withdrawals. I approached the counter. A young woman with dark eyes and a name tag that read Sophia looked up and smiled. "Good morning. How can I help you?" "I need to make some changes to my accounts. Add security measures." "Of course. Let me pull up your information." She typed, then paused, frowned slightly. "Mrs. Brennan, I see there have been some recent issues with your account." "Unauthorized access?" "Yes. My son." I stopped. "It's complicated." "I understand, and I'm very sorry that happened to you." She looked at me with genuine sympathy. "I actually remember your son. He came in several times, always very insistent." Michael leaned forward. "What do you mean?" Sophia hesitated. "I probably shouldn't say, but he always seemed in a hurry, wanted to withdraw large amounts quickly. And once he brought an older woman with him, said she was his mother. But something felt off." "Off how?" I asked. She barely spoke. He answered all the questions for her, and when I asked to see her ID, he got defensive, said I was treating them like criminals. She shook her head. I should have said something then, but he was so aggressive, and I was new, and I didn't want to cause problems. "You did say something," I told her. "You noticed. That matters." She smiled slightly. "Well, today, I'm making sure your accounts are locked down tight." "No. One accesses them, but you." We spent an hour setting up new security protocols, verbal passwords, two-factor authentication, a flag on my account that required in-person verification for any changes. As we were finishing, Sophia looked at me seriously. "Mrs. Brennan, I need to ask you something, and please be honest. Do you feel safe? At home, I mean? Has anyone pressured you to be here today, to make these changes?" I realized what she was doing, checking, making sure I wasn't being coerced. "I'm here of my own free will," I said. "And yes, I feel safe." "Good, because if you ever don't, if anyone ever makes you feel unsafe or tries to access your accounts, you call me directly." She handed me her business card with her personal cell number written on the back. Day or night. I took the card, throat tight with unexpected emotion. "Thank you, Sophia." After we left, Michael said, "She's good at her job." She is. You know what she did back there? When she asked if you felt safe? What? She was following protocol for elder financial abuse. Banks are trained to watch for it now, to ask those questions. She probably saved you from even more theft by flagging Richie's behavior early. I looked at the business card in my hand. One person. One young woman who paid attention, who cared enough to notice something wrong. Sometimes that's all it takes. Months passed. Richie and Angela served their sentences. The restitution money was deposited back into my account. All of it, plus interest, plus court-ordered damages. I didn't touch it. Not yet. I wasn't sure what I wanted to do with it. Michael suggested a vacation. "You've been through hell, Mom. Take a cruise, visit Europe, do something for yourself." But that's not what I wanted. Instead, I called Patricia. "I want to set up a fund," I said, "for elder financial abuse victims, to help pay for legal representation. Can you help me do that?" She was quiet for a moment. Then, "Margaret, that's a beautiful idea." "Yes, I'll help." We established the Margaret A. Brennan Legal Defense Fund. Started with $50,000. Patricia spread the word through legal circles. Within 6 months, We'd helped 12 people. 12 people who couldn't afford attorneys, who were being stolen from by their own children, their caregivers, their supposed loved ones. 12 people who got their justice. It didn't make what happened to me hurt less, but it made it mean something. Emma came to visit on a Saturday afternoon, 9 months after the sentencing. She was 16 now, taller, more serious. We sat in the kitchen, the same kitchen where I'd received Richie's first phone call, where I'd cried over those bank statements, where I'd planned my survival. "Dad writes me letters," she said quietly. "From prison. He says he's sorry, that he's getting counseling, that he wants to be better. Do you believe him? I don't know. Maybe." She looked at me with Daniel's eyes. She had his eyes. I'd always thought so. "Do you?" I considered the question carefully. "I believe he's sorry he got caught. Whether he's sorry for what he did, I hope so, Emma, for his sake, but I don't know." "Are you still angry?" Was I? I'd been furious at first, then heartbroken, then numb. Now I was just tired of being angry. "Not as much as I was," I said honestly. "Anger takes energy, and I'd rather use mine for better things." "Like the fund? You heard about that?" "Uncle Mike told me. He said you're helping people, that you turned something awful into something good." She reached across the table and took my hand. "I think that's amazing, Grandma." We talked for hours, about school, about her sisters, about the future. When she left, she hugged me tight. "Can I come back next week?" "Anytime you want, sweetheart. Always." 2 years later, I stood in a community center, speaking to a room full of seniors about financial safety. Patricia had asked me to share my story, to warn others about. I was nervous at first. Public speaking had never been my thing. But then I looked at the faces in the audience. Men and women my age, older, some younger, all listening intently. "My name is Margaret Brennan," I began, "and I want to tell you about the day I discovered my son was stealing from me." I told them everything: the phone calls, the forged documents, the fake ID, the threats, and I told them what I did about it. "It was the hardest thing I've ever done," I said. "Harder than burying my husband, harder than anything, because you're supposed to protect your children, not prosecute them. But here's what I learned. Sometimes protecting yourself is protecting your family. By refusing to be a victim, by demanding accountability, I taught my grandchildren a lesson they'll never forget. I taught them that love doesn't mean accepting abuse, that family doesn't mean blind trust, that everyone, even elderly mothers, deserves respect and dignity." When I finished, the applause was thunderous. Afterward, people lined up to talk to me, to share their own stories, to ask for advice. An older man, probably 80, shook my hand. "My daughter keeps asking me to sign papers," he said quietly. "Says it's for my own good, but something doesn't feel right." "Then don't sign," I told him. "Get your own lawyer. Read everything. Trust your instincts. But she's my daughter. So was my son. Trust your instincts anyway." He nodded slowly, walked away, with my business card, the fund's information on the back. I might have just saved his life savings. That evening, I sat on my back porch, watching the sunset. The tomato plants were thriving. I'd harvested 3 baskets this week. My phone buzzed. A text from Emma. "Thank you for today, Grandma. You're my hero." I smiled. Inside, the house was quiet, still just me, still empty in some ways, but also full of memories, good ones and bad ones, full of history, full of strength I didn't know I had. I thought about Daniel, about what he'd say if he could see me now, probably something like, "I always knew you were tougher than you thought, Maggie. Proud of you." I raised my glass of iced tea toward the sky. "Miss you," I said quietly, "but I'm okay. I'm actually okay." And I was, not the same as I'd been before. You don't go through something like this and stay the same, but okay. Maybe even better than okay. I'd learned something important. Strength isn't about not breaking. It's about what you do after you break, how you put yourself back together, What you build from the pieces. I'd been broken, but I'd put myself back together into something new, something stronger, something unbreakable. If you're reading this, if you're listening to my story, and something about it sounds familiar, if someone in your life is pressuring you about money, asking you to sign things, telling you you're confused when you know you're not, please, trust yourself. Get help. You are not too old, too confused, or too much trouble to deserve protection. You matter. Your money, is your life. Don't let anyone take that from you. Not even family. Especially not family. I'm Margaret Brennan, and I'm 75 years old now, and I finally know my own worth.